Hi everybody, Joe Gordon here, and I'm here to talk about my keys to the image. Well, this image is got to be one of my favorites that I've ever taken. And people look at it, and what really separates is the softness of the veil, the mood of it, the hidden nature of it. But one of the things that really separates it, and this is one of the few times I'm going to try to achieve this, is the mixed lighting. So let me explain to you how it's done. I'll start with equipment. This was shot with a Nikon D3S. I was using my 85mm 1.4 lens. At this point in time, I was shooting on aperture priority 1.4. Now, one of the things at 1.4 that people forget about and don't understand is they think if you're at 1.4, you're automatically going to have a very small depth of field. That's not necessarily true. The thing that determines your depth of field, besides the aperture, is also your distance to the subject, your lens in relation to the subject. The closer you are, obviously the more shallow your depth of field. The further away, the more depth of field you're going to have. So the key here is when I walked into the situation, I recognized one thing. We're in front of a restaurant at the Bellagio in Las Vegas, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, wow, look at the tungsten light in the room. How could I pick this up? I was outside the restaurant. So what I figured automatically was I wanted to slow down my shutter speed. So that was going to be one of the keys. Slowing down my shutter speed would allow the intensity of the background to burn in. But in order to really get that glow, what I needed to do is not be white balanced for tungsten. I needed to be white balanced for daylight, because obviously being white balanced for daylight was going to control the background. So what was going to happen is, since the background wasn't daylight, it was not, in fact, it wasn't going to turn white, it wasn't going to be the correct color. What it was going to do was oversaturate and get more contrast. So in order to do this, I knew that I had to take them and set them up with a special light. So what I did was take my torch light, and what I'm looking to do at this point is I want to light directly into the face, keeping this side, which is the broad side of the face, furthest away from the camera. So what I did was have my stand come in directly over. I took my stand with a boom arm, put it right about here, and I had it aiming down directly into the face. Now, with my torchlight, as you probably all know, I could set it for either daylight, tungsten, or fluorescent. So what I did was I had my daylight cap on and I aimed it into here. Now, I had already decided I was going to shoot this at aperture priority 1.4, so the key was to make sure that I kind of set my light to be a little bit of a main light rather than a fill here, because if the light was a fill, it wouldn't overpower enough and my white balance would be off. So what I did was overpower it, getting it up to 1.4, and because I wasn't at a higher ISO, I was probably right around 640, what it was able to accomplish was allowing me to slow down my shutter speed, to have the background burn in. I was at 1/8 of a second. I was at 1.4. This was very dark in the front here. If you know this area in the Bellagio, as you walk across the Bally's, it was a darker area. It was nighttime. I created the daylight effect from the torchlight. I white balanced for the daylight. I exposed for the highlights in here, which allowed this to go shadow and make it look thinner. And then, again, because of the white balance, it allowed the background to burn in, oversaturate, and create this beautiful look. Now, my finishing of the image is actually very, very simple. I've set up for a softer look by my cropping, by off-centering them, because I'm thinking about it in terms of a page album where I could put other images in here. But what I'm trying to do, again, is keep it soft. So what I'm using as an effect here from the Kubota Actions is basically three of them. I'm using a daily multivitamin, which I have at, I think it was 52%. I'm also using a powwow, which is from the powwow series, and it's kind of a sharpener, but also creates more contrast. And the last finishing is icing. No, icing was from version 4, I believe, and what I'm doing with that is bringing it down. It defaults to 50%. I think I'm at like 41% on it, so it creates the whole soft look. The key to the image, though, is the hand placement, because it's covering the arm. It's setting it up so that the arm makes it not as large as it appears. You see the connection, but he's hidden, because the image isn't about him. It's about her. The veil creates its own separate Gaussian blur, and as you can tell, you get a great image. Easily repeatable. He's hidden behind her. She's in a 2/3 view to the camera. Daylight on subject. Separation from the background. Wide depth of field. you got your image. And those are my keys to the image. If you're interested in learning else that we do, please make sure you go to our YouTube channel, which is Doug Gordon Workshops. Of course, you can find us on the web at www.DougGordonWorkshops.com, on Facebook at Doug Gordon Workshops, and of course, if you want to follow us on Twitter and see if I actually am witty at all, you could go to Doug Gordon Photo. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you real soon.